Hi friends, Amy from Attainable Hospitality here, and today I just wanted to share one of the recipes that I make that gets a lot of attention, in our home. People ask for the recipe or ask me to make it for them, and that is carrot cake. So I have a recipe from my mother-in-law that I've kind of adapted because I like to take recipes and then make them to suit my own needs. So that is the recipe we're gonna be doing today, and I'll put all the ingredients and measurements and stuff at the very end. But the basic technique is, so I put my sugar and oil in the bowl already, and I did a little pre-blend, but I just want to kind of have the fat and the sugar go together. I don't feel like this is as important as if I was using butter, but I do it this way anyway. And then next, I'm gonna add eggs, which I had my oldest son break for me a little while ago. And I'm not gonna add them all at once. I'm gonna add them, just like kind of a little bit at a time to kind of whip them in there better. A couple more. So it's getting kind of frothy, which is what I want to see. All right, now that I've mixed that for a minute, I have pre-measured my dry ingredients. Now, I usually, combine all my dry ingredients ahead of time before I even start, especially because I'm usually doing this juggling in between a lot of things. So I measured these out. I did the eggs, I did the sugar, probably a couple hours ago at this point, just as I was making lunch, as I was doing things. I'm like, hey, I got 5 minutes to measure my dry ingredients. Oh, I got, another 2 minutes to measure my sugar. So really just, when you plan it out and are intentional, you don't need to have, an hour and a half window of time, if you're able to kind of stagger it, because I get little pockets. I got the little guy down for a nap. I got 3 kids at the table eating lunch, trying to be quiet upon threat. Let's leave it at that. So it's a lot more doable when you realize that if you break it up into bite-sized chunks, then you can do it. So I got my dry ingredients, and I'm just gonna kind of carefully dump them in here. And then I'm gonna give it a mix. So this is a double batch that I'm making. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. I'm going to be making a lot of cupcakes. Usually when I do this, I am making like a bun cake, and that's like for the single. But today I'm going to make a bunch of cupcakes to take to just some various friends, share what we got. So I don't want to overmix this, but I do want to make sure that all my wet ingredients and dry ingredients are incorporated. So I'm gonna stop it there, even though I see a little bit of dry still, because now I'm gonna add my carrots, and they're gonna add some more moisture. So most of the time, if I'm just doing a single batch, I will shred my carrots with my box grater and leave it at that. Today I used my food processor with the grate, just because there was 8 cups, and so I did that, and then I also, while I had my food processor out, I shredded some zucchini from the garden. I'll make some zucchini bread tonight or tomorrow. So when I get like a bigger, harder to clean appliance out, I try to make the most of it, and I don't want to make a huge mess with multiple parts if I'm only going to do one small thing. So put that in. And then we will mix some more. Again, trying, there's a big chunk of carrot there. again, trying not to overmix. We just want to incorporate it in. And actually, in a minute, I'm going to grab a spoon and stir it a little bit more. I missed some of these big chunks. All right, that's probably all I want to do with the beaters. Let me grab a spoon real quick. All right, so the reason you don't want to overmix when you're making something like a cake or muffins is because you want them to have a nice texture. And when you overmix things that have wheat flour, then you're activating the gluten in that flour, which is great. Oh, somebody go get him, please. Thank you. Baby monitor. It's okay, just go. He did not take a long enough nap. So, you like to have gluten activated if you're making like a sourdough bread or whatever, but something like this, we want to have much more crumbly and pleasing to the texture. All right, so I will stop with the mixing here. It looks good enough to me. And let's see if you can kind of see it's kind of soupy. That's how we want it. And then next we will fill up the cupcake things. All right, so next we are going to take our batter and put it into our cupcake trays. I like to use liners. I strongly recommend using cupcake liners of some sort. So what I really like to use is this tool here. It is just shy of a 1/4 cup in capacity, but something else you can use if you don't have one of those or don't like it, just like a 1/4 cup scooper. I find it easier to use something like that because you're going to get a lot of consistency when putting the batter in the cupcakes versus if you had a like a bowl with a pour spout and you were just pouring it in and just kind of eyeballing it. I feel like this is faster and easier personally. So I just get some in my scoop and plop it in, and it really goes pretty quickly. So you'll see there is a lot of carrot in the recipe, and that's great. It cooks down nicely and adds a lot of moisture to the cake. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up all my cupcake things, and we will touch base later when it's time to frost them, or well, when it's time to make the frosting. Hi friends, it's me again. So since we spoke last, I made an additional double batch of cupcakes because clearly I like to feed people, and so when you look at the amount of butter and cream cheese in here, just recognize that this is a quadruple batch. I will share the recipe or the quantities for a single batch at the end. So to do the cream cheese frosting, it's really simple. I do a 1-to-1 ratio of 1 part cream cheese to 1 part butter, and then I just add powdered sugar and vanilla. So I am going to first add my softened. So I took these out of my fridge a while ago, a couple hours ago, so that they wouldn't be quite so chilled because they're really hard to work with at that point. So I don't want to melt them, but I want them to be softened. So I'm going to blend these together. So now I have like literally just buttery cream cheese at this point. All right, now I'm gonna add a bunch of powdered sugar. And again, I just eyeball the quantities because I've done this so many times. Oh my goodness, my husband. I have 2 kids on a bike ride, 2 kids playing on the back deck, my in-laws coming up from the basement any second, and now my husband is trying to cause trouble because he can. So, like I said, we sneak these things in as we can, and we just make it happen. If it's important to us, we will make it happen. And cream cheese frosting should be important to most people. So you can see it's incorporating the powdered sugar really well. And I know I'm going to need some more, but I'm going to add the vanilla. And again, I just eyeball, oh my goodness, he's sticking his tongue out at me. Help me, please. All right, remember this is a quadruple batch, so you will not be adding this much unless you are insane like me. All right, so it's starting to come together, and I'm going to add some more powdered sugar and mix, 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 and probably just call it a day. So you're going to want to test, you know, it really depends on how much sweetness you want. I don't like mine to be super sweet. I want it to be more rich, which is why I use a good quality butter, which the quality of the butter really does make a difference. But again, use what you have, use what you have access to. Don't not make it because you can't get, you know, your favorite butter. But, you know, just keep in mind that because it has so much butter in it, you're going to get the richness of the butter. All right, so I'm going to finish this up, and then I will show you how I frost them. Oh, my husband would like me to add cumin to the cream cheese, and he is very pleased with his suggestion. I am less than pleased as he giggles over there. All right, so you can see the consistency is like frosting that I'm sure you've seen many times. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and then I will show y'all the techniques and also check on a screaming child. Once you get your frosting made, you find a piping bag or a Ziploc bag or something, snip the end, put your tip on, and then I like to fold my bag over because it makes it less messy when you're trying to fill it. Now, you don't have to actually use a piping bag or do anything fancy. You can just, you know, get a spoon or a knife and spread frosting on. Definitely make sure your cupcakes or cake is cooled before you start to frost it. Otherwise, it'll just get all melty and soupy. So, as you can see, I'm just putting the frosting into the bag, just kind of, you know, a decent amount, and then I'm gonna shake it down and get it all ready to frost. You'll note that I am dubbing over this video because at the time I couldn't wait for an empty kitchen to make frosting, and I had a very less than empty kitchen and several adults talking in the background, you know, kids, all that. So pick up your cupcake, do a little squeeze from the top. If you're using a piping bag, it's just gonna help it flow better. Don't squeeze from the middle or close to the tip, you squeeze from the top. And you can just do a little swirl, and as you can see, it goes pretty quickly, you know, if you kind of have a groove and know what you're doing. You just, you know, squeeze, turn, let go, go to the next one, and before you know it, you have frosted a bunch of cupcakes and they don't look half bad. But again, you don't need all that, and thanks for watching.